Hey guys, today I will be making some challah bread. And by the way, challah bread, which is a bread originating from Israel, which was an ancient bread from the Second Temple period in Israel. And so let's get making this really cool bread. So over here I have our ingredients. So over here we have some active dry yeast, a bit of vegetable oil. You can substitute it for any other oil you like. I've got some honey. You can also use sugar, but honey is a bit more traditional. Some egg yolks, a bit of eggs, and some water for our yeast. So now for the fermentation of the yeast, which will help give a nice texture to our bread. So I'm going to take 2 teaspoons of yeast, active dry yeast, and put it into this water, so just 1, 2 teaspoons. Then I'm going to add in our honey, about like 1 tablespoon of honey. You can also use sugar, but honey is, well, I just explained, much more preferable in my opinion. Okay, get that cleaned off. So now, I'll just use the spatula to get out any extra honey. And now I'm just going to stir our active dry yeast so that everything gets incorporated and it could start fermenting. So we're just gonna leave that for about 5 to 7 minutes to rest and let it get bubbly. If it doesn't get bubbly, then you have to throw out your yeast and restart it again, or maybe get some new yeast. So now this has been sitting for 5 to 8 minutes, and if you look really close, you can see those little foam and bubbles forming on top, which means it's ready to go. Now we are going to mix in our yeast mixture with 4 1/4 cups of flour, of all-purpose flour. It's the classic. And right now I'm using, I don't want to go too fast because it's real bread. Over here I'm using a bread hook attachment. And why I wouldn't be using it, because like a paddle attachment or kneading it, because most people actually underknead their dough. Also, rather than using a paddle attachment, bread hook literally hooks the bread and makes it clump all together. Now I'm going to add in our 1/4 cup of our vegetable oil. You can substitute it, or with butter, a bit. So 4 egg yolks. I know, a lot of egg yolks. And now 2 just whole eggs. No egg yolks in this one. Okay, I'm just going to crack it in the bowl so that we don't get any eggshells in our dough, because who would want to chew on some egg yolks? Eggshells in your dough. So now we are going to add in our 2 extra eggs. Now we are just going to let that mix all together for about 2 to 3 minutes. So right now this has been mixing for 4 to 8 minutes, and as you can see, the dough has been pulling away from the sides, which means it's ready to be tucked and to be rised. So now I'm going to take our dough, a greased surface with some cooking spray. You can also use a bit of oil or butter. Now we're just going to tuck this into a nice taut ball by just putting it into itself, putting all the ugly pieces at the bottom, just so then we can get a nice taut ball. Just tuck it into itself right at the bottom. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna let this rise for an hour with the damp cloth. You can also use some parchment paper or some cooking cling film. Now guys, this has been rising for about an hour. And whoa, that is so big. So right now we're just gonna turn this over and just get a lightly floured work surface. Now just evenly spread it out. Maybe a tiny bit more flour. Okay, maybe that's good. Now just respread that. So now we are going to just cut this into 4 equal-sized pieces. So just the easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is just to cut it down the middle. And then divide that into half. And then divide this into half. So now I am just going to try to make a rectangle, or it might look like an oval if your dough is a bit too blobby, because dough doesn't exactly want to be uniform. It's be blobby as it is. So I'm just going to evenly try to get rectangle. That's the best I could do. So now I'm just gonna fold it over itself about halfway. I'm gonna do that with the other side. Now let's just do this. I'm just gonna do it with the other side. Now gently just seal that, and now I'm just gonna repeat this process, and then I'm going to let these rest for about 15 minutes. So now this has been proofing for about 15 minutes. So now we are going to roll it out into a nice thin edge, just rolling it out. And as the more you roll it out and the more you get to the edges, you just want to put more pressure. You don't want to squash these or else it won't give you the texture. You just want it to have like a tapered look, like this is a bit more skinnier and this part is a bit more thicker. So you just need to get it to the appropriate size, and you can make this as big or as small as you want. I got the dough into this kind of like, I would say, half-star shape. So we're just gonna move, so now we're gonna bring this. So we're just gonna move this to the center. Then we are going to move this over here. Then here, over here, then so now we just created a little like cross shape. Just gonna redo that on this side, then just tuck everything all together into a nice little braid. And now we are just going to put this on a nice baking tray and brush it with some egg wash and let it proof for 2 hours. So right now we're just gonna brush the challah bread with some egg wash, which is just simple, a bit of eggs and some water. So I'm just going to evenly coat it so that it doesn't like cook while we're baking this. Even though we're just gonna proof it for 2 hours before we even bake it. Just to give it an extra little rise. Try not to drip it onto the parchment paper because you don't want the eggs to start cooking on there. And the egg wash just gives it a bit of extra color, so then it looks picture perfect. Also a bit of extra flavor that will enhance our challah. So now this has been resting for like 2 hours, and it is like quadrupled in size. By the way, I had to add a bit of egg wash every 40 minutes, which also helped to get this really big texture. Didn't you see last time on this video? It was a lot smaller than this, and it's like quadrupled, I would say. So now this is at 375, but now we are going to immediately reduce it to 325. Which is just to give it a bit of a big blow. Now going to add in our challah bread for about 60 minutes or 1 hour, or 50 minutes if your oven's really hot, and it'll get a nice golden brown texture. Okay, Bye guys, see you at the end. Now our bread is done baking, so let's see how it looks. Oh my god, it smells so good in here. Whoa, look at this thing. Isn't this so cool? Wow, look at that like fluffy and crunchy bread on the outside. A bit of sesame seeds, lovely braiding. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I can't wait to eat it with some like jam and some honey butter. That's so amazing. And in the morning for breakfast, I'm definitely gonna make some French toast with it. Okay, bye guys. Hope you like and subscribe.